Throughout your life, you're gonna come across a lot of people offering you advice on a variety of things. Advice on your career, on education, advice on your personal life, your professional life, and sometimes it's hard to determine who to take advice from. But with that being said, there are a couple things that you should keep in mind when people are giving you advice. And these points, these things to consider, are gonna help you understand who you should be taking advice from and whose advice you should probably ignore. What is going on, everyone? My name is Chris Vincelli. Welcome to my YouTube channel. And in this video, I'm gonna talk about how you should be careful who you take advice from. Be careful who you get your advice from. Be wary of who is giving you that advice, and understand that not everyone's advice is valid. And I'm not gonna waste any time. I'm gonna dive into that right now. And the first thing that you should consider is whether you would actually trade places with the person giving you the advice. So for example, if the advice you're getting is coming from someone that has already achieved what you aspire to attain, what you aspire to achieve. So for example, if you're looking to become a multimillionaire and someone who is already a multimillionaire is giving you advice on wealth generation, well, then probably that advice would be valid. That is probably advice you would want to listen to. The person giving you advice is probably someone you would want to trade places with, given that they already have what you aspire to achieve. But on the other hand, if you're getting personal finances advice from someone who's broke, well, then obviously ignore that advice. That is probably not someone you would want to trade places with, and therefore you shouldn't have to follow that advice. Same thing goes for relationship advice. If you want to be married someday and you want to have, a successful marriage, probably the best advice you can get is from someone who's also been married for many, many years, who's had a successful marriage. You want to follow the advice of people who've already gone through what you're going through right now, people that you admire, people that you hope to replicate and have what they have one day. So be mindful of who you're getting advice from. Think about whether you would actually want to trade places with them or not. Another thing you want to consider is whether the person giving you the advice is coming from a position of experience or not. So for example, again, if you're looking to become a multimillionaire, well, you want to get advice from someone who wasn't born into a super wealthy family. You probably want to get advice from someone who's had to build themselves up from scratch, a self-made multimillionaire. The person who was born into a super rich family, well, they're not giving you advice from a position of experience. They might be a multimillionaire because of, the birth lottery. They were just born into a super rich family, but that does not mean they're gonna be able to give you good wealth generation advice. Whereas someone who's had to start a business from scratch and build their own wealth without the help of anybody else, including their family, they're probably gonna be able to give you great advice on how to become a multimillionaire. And the same thing is true with other areas. If you're looking to become a professional athlete, the best advice you can get is from other professional athletes. Or when it comes to things like your career, your education, you wanna get advice from people who've already gone through it all. Successfully, of course. The third thing you wanna think about is, from what angle are people giving you advice from? What is their agenda? Do they stand to benefit from them giving you advice and you following through on their advice? If someone stands to benefit from whatever advice they give you, well, then maybe that advice is not genuine. So for example, if a realtor is trying to convince you to sell your home, well, maybe they're just saying that because they want some business from you. And also, advice from your family can come from a certain agenda as well. I know a lot of parents try to protect their kids as much as possible, and a lot of parents may advise their kids not to take on more risky endeavors. They want to protect and coddle their kids, unfortunately, as much as possible. So even the advice that you get from your parents might be coming from a detrimental angle. So whether it be from friends, colleagues, or from your parents, be careful, be mindful of where that advice is coming from. Do people want to see you excel, succeed? Do people want to profit from whatever business decisions you might make? Keep that in mind. Okay, I got 2 more points I want to go over, but before I do so, I want to let you know that whether you've seen my content before or this is the first time viewing one of my videos, go ahead and subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so you can be notified every single time I come out with other great and similar content. And if you haven't done so already, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and smash that like button. YouTube loves it when people like my videos, so smash that like button. And yes, I am on Instagram, so feel free to follow me there too. Okay, I'm gonna piggyback off of my previous point, but another thing you need to keep in mind when you're taking advice from people is whether they actually care about you or not. Now, this is a little tricky because sometimes the people who care about you the most might withhold advice from you in order to not offend you or rub you the wrong way. But bottom line is, do they want the best for you? That's what you need to decipher when you're getting advice from people. So if you know people who are jealous and envious of you and they start giving you advice, I would be very careful about the advice that you take from them. Whereas if you're getting advice from a mentor, for example, chances are they've been your mentor because they actually do care about you. They care about your professional and personal life, and they're gonna give you sound advice that is not gonna be detrimental to your life. So think about the advice you get. Think about as to whether they actually care about you. Do they want the best for you? Have they typically encouraged you to do things? Or have they been more discouraging? Are they envious? Are they jealous? Keep that in mind when taking advice from people. All right, the last thing to consider when getting advice from others is whether their values align with yours. Do you guys have similar worldviews, similar values? So for example, if you are very entrepreneurial, but you're getting advice from someone who believes in going to college, getting a job, working 9 to 5, being a part of the company and trying to climb up the company ladder, well, chances are their values when it comes to career probably doesn't line up with yours. And that's not gonna match up with you. And that's gonna create a lot of conflict and you're gonna end up being not very happy. However, like I said, if you are very entrepreneurial and you get advice from a fellow entrepreneur, well, chances are your worldview and your values are going to align and they're gonna give you advice that does not come into conflict with who you are, with your own passions and your values too. And that can apply to your personal life as well. You know, for example, if you are religious, if you're a religious person, chances are you might want to consider getting your advice from someone else who follows their religion or adheres to a particular religion. Getting advice from a secular atheist when it comes to personal matters might not really work out for you, might not work and might not align with some of the things that you're trying to pursue and achieve. Or if you're getting marriage advice from someone who's been divorced 3 times and doesn't really believe in marriage, well, that's probably not gonna work too. So that's it. Those are just 5 points that you need to consider when taking advice from other people. But what do you think? What have your experiences been? Have you ever been given advice from people and you just don't know what to do with it? You don't know whether their advice is valid or not, whether you should follow it? What have your experiences been? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. And let me know if I missed anything. Would you add anything else to this list? Let me know in the comment section below.